Okay, I'm here today with Stowe Shoemaker. He is the Dean of the Harrah College of Hospitality at the University of Las Vegas in Nevada. How are you today, Stowe?
I'm doing great. I'm doing just fabulous. It's a beautiful summer day here in Southern Nevada, so everything is just great.
Awesome. So beautiful, beautiful day in Southern Nevada. This time of year, what is that, like 110 degrees?
I think usually, but today it's actually lower, so it's only about 90. And it's a dry heat.
Oh, it's a dry heat. You're absolutely right. I forgot. So, Stowe, I first of all, thank you very much for joining me. I am excited to discuss, kind of the future of hospitality with an educator. We've talked to a lot of people on the business side. We've talked to, people on the futures side of things, but not necessarily on the talent futures side of things. So, to start, thank you very much for being here.
No, it's an honor to be here, and I'd love to talk about hospitality education because really, hospitality, it doesn't matter what your mom or dad did. If we give you a great education, we can change your life and you can have experiences you never thought possible. I always wanted to be a hockey player, professional hockey player. My parents weren't professional hockey players, so the chances of me being one were zero. They weren't in hospitality either, but I found a career that was just amazing.
That's outstanding. So, you talked about finding this career. How did you end up here as the dean of this amazing college?
Well, I was very, fortunate. I think I came from industry, so I spent many years in industry. Then I went back and did my PhD and did the traditional academic route. And one of the things I've always been really I've been able to do, very lucky, is I always kind of think about the future and how it's changing. And so when a dean's job became available here at UNLV, I was already at UNLV as a faculty member, but when the dean's job became available, I really laid out a whole strategy for where I thought our college should go as it dealt with the future of hospitality and the future of education. And the president and the provost seemed to like it, so I was hired. So it was really just being able to have a vision, getting people rallied behind me, and then I was elected to be the dean.
Now, so I don't know how many people out there know this, but I know I was, I'm obviously blown away by this. You are the #1 hospitality college in the US and #2 in the world, which is, amazing. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. I got to ask, where's the difference there? What is different, the difference in your program that's keeping such a stellar reputation, stellar rankings for this institution?
Well, I think the major reason is that we're very different than other hospitality schools in the world. What's happened, there's been a big trend in hospitality education for hospitality programs to be assumed or absorbed into the business schools. So I did my PhD at Cornell, and the Cornell Hotel School is now the Nolan School as part of the College of Business at the Johnson School. Michigan State, their program is part of the business school. University Denver is part of the business school. Probably the number one hospitality program in the world for many years was EHL, École Hôtelière de Lausanne. And they've recently just changed their name to EHL Hospitality Business School. So many hospitality programs are just business schools with some hospitality examples. Our program, and this is really the strategy I'd laid out when I became dean 9 years ago, was let's be a hospitality school that learns from business, learns from fine arts, learns from communications, and learns from other disciplines, because hospitality at the end of the day is you have to know how to take care of a customer. And so our program is filled with lots of work experience, lots of industry examples, industry people coming in. So when our kids graduate, they know the industry, they have a passion for the industry, and they're ready to get their feet rolling. And so industry wants to hire our kids. And I think that's why.
Yeah, so that's absolutely incredible. And I think that, that differentiator is, clearly, why you have an amazing program. What is, in your opinion, what's driving this switch by other schools that is, really focused more on the business side than on the hospitality side?
Well, I think it's a couple of things. One is certainly, the cost of education is getting higher. And so universities are looking for ways to cut costs. I think another reason is that in the United States last year, 500,000 students did not apply to college that normally would have applied. So enrollments are down. And so universities are saying, well, you teach marketing, the business school teaches marketing, you teach finance, your curriculums are very similar. So let's just merge them together. And we save money, and then students can go work in the business. And I think that's really the biggest trend. And I think that's a mistake, because what happens then is you don't really get an understanding for what hospitality is. And hospitality is not so much a job as it's a calling, it's a passion. And students, sometimes they may watch The Wedding Planner and they go, oh, I want to be a wedding planner. They go to a business school, they take some hospitality courses, but they don't really understand the industry. They go out and work and they go, oh my God, this is a lot of work. So then they leave the industry, right? Our students come in with a passion for hospitality. We give them a lot of work experience. We have this beautiful building that we opened a couple of years ago that's really a hospitality space designed as the classroom. So there's just a lot of excitement. There's a lot of buzz. And industry knows when they hire a UNLV kid, their first day on the job is not, hey, where's my office? Their first question is, where's the kitchen? I want to get in and get my hands dirty.
That's outstanding. And I think that mindset is what a lot of people are really interested in right now, right? Yeah, obviously the pandemic, it changed a lot for a lot of people. I remember being at a site and having to, let go of 93% of my team, right? And then tried to welcome them back to the industry. And obviously not everybody came. So, right now from your seat, you're developing the future. What does the outlook look like if I'm in a classroom right now, or I'm in your position? What are the students thinking?
I think that, right now we really stress the fact that our industry has gone through ups and downs many times. And at the end of the day, people love to travel. People love to go out to eat. People love to be with everybody else. And we remind the students that yes, during the pandemic, it was hard, but now there's lots of jobs. Right. And so our view is always stay in the industry, stay focused in the industry, and you'll always have work. We stress to our students a lot about having, an MBA mentality. And that isn't the MBA mentality of a business school. It's a mop bucket attitude. In other words, get in and get your hands dirty. And if you're willing to work, there's going to always be a job, and you'll be able to rise up in the organizations. And I think industry realized that they made, some mistakes by letting so many people go, and some people aren't coming back into the industry. But that's even better, because if you're good and you have a passion for the industry, you can rise much more quickly because the competition is less.
So talk to me about your program, right? You've got, is this a strictly hotel focused program, culinary program? What kind of programs do you have there at UNLV, and what are you seeing the kids gravitating towards these days?
So that's a great question. So, traditionally, it takes to get a college degree takes 120 credits. And typically 80 credits are in your degree, a specialty. So a hospitality program, it takes 80 credits in hospitality to get a degree. Well, traditional hospitality programs, and even UNLV was like this, 70 credits were required, and you had 10 credits of electives, roughly 3 classes. So everybody took everything lock, stock, and barrel. And you got a kind of an overview of sort of everything, but you became a master of none, right?
Right.
What we did as a faculty, we got together and said, wait a minute, our industry is changing. We're not just hotels. We're not just restaurants. If we're at restaurants, we could be fine dining. We could be fast casual. Hotels could be limited service. They could be the resorts like the Ritz-Carlton. They could be integrated resorts. We have entertainment. We have sports. So what our faculty did is they said, hey, let's come down to the core 50 credits that represent what ties into be operationally successful in hospitality. And then let's take 30 credits, or roughly 10 courses, that allows the student to delve into an area that they're really interested in. So we, from the gift of the Panda Express, Andrew and Peggy Churn, recently gave our college $5 million to be able to develop a concentration in the fast casual segment, right? And for a student to get in the fast casual segment, after 2 or 3 years, you're running $1 million, $2 million business, making 6 figures. We also have a concentration in gaming, where kids want to go into the gaming side. We're actually working with fine arts and engineering, and we're going to start a program in entertainment design. How do you create these great experiences? So our program is allowing for students to find a passion and then really delve into it. So for meeting and events, how do you plan a course for 20,000 people, right? What takes place to put all that together? Now you could take a whole course in stewarding and all of those kinds of things. So our kids become really prepared. And then industry looks at us and says, wow, those kids know what they're doing. So we're going to bring them in.
All right. Well, I think that's that's a great focus to take. And do you find post-pandemic when registration, people are looking at their focus and what they're going to be, are there any industry specific sectors that people are kind of grabbing, casino or beverage?
Well, that's a great question. We have 80 companies have come to our school to recruit students, which is great. And so students kind of hear what industry is looking for. They see a company that they kind of like, and then they figure out what they need to do. So they concentrate on that. So events is really important. I mean, everybody wants to do events, and not just wedding planning, but big events, right? Because Las Vegas has these big events. So that's really a popular area that's taken off. But we also, have a lot of interest in restaurant. One of our graduates is Guy Fieri.
Wow.
And Guy's come and he's talked to our students, and he's gotten kids really excited. We have students who are running, Martha Stewart has now opened a new restaurant in Paris, not Paris, the city in France, Paris, Las Vegas.
Of
And one
course.
of our graduates is running that property. So our kids are going all over. We have a lot in HR, want to do HR. But what's really exciting is we have an incredible internship program, both with Resorts World and the Palms. And recently at the Palms, we had 10 students who worked at the Palms pre-opening, all the way through opening. And the Palms hired all 10 students. And I think 4 to 5 of them wanted to go into not just the event side, but wanted to go into the banquet serving side, the food and beverage side. So kids are really seeing the opportunities in food and beverage, which we're pretty excited about.
Well, that's outstanding. So, when you look at, building the future, right? You're sculpting the future, you're molding the future right now. They're going to enter the workforce. You've already said they're going to be hard workers. They're going to be, hands-on, have that MBA mentality, the mop bucket mentality.
Yeah.
So what kind of message would you want to give employers who are, trying to figure out how to prepare for this next generation and try to recruit this next generation? Is there any sort of a message you'd like to, maybe provide to them?
Yeah, I think the message that I would like to say is that today's kids, they know a lot more than we all did when we entered the industry, right? They're tech savvy. They have an understanding of what each other's likes are, and they want to move fast, right? And I think we sometimes in industry, we think, well, it took me a long time to get out of the dish room, so it should take you a long time to get out of the dish room. And it literally, I worked, in college, I worked in the dish room for a year. And kids today don't want to do that, right?
Right.
So I think what we have to do as industry is really think about how do we bring back these internships that are rotational. And this is what we did with Resorts World. We have 24 people were on, and they're in there for a 14-week program, and they spend time in each department. So the kids begin to see what they like and what they don't like, and let them make them some mistakes and let them charge ahead, and don't try to rein them back too much because they'll go somewhere else. But let them be entrepreneurial, but also guide them and let them fail, because everybody's going to fail, but then tell them why they failed. And as they mature, all those lessons will come into place.
I think that's a phenomenal message. You hit on a lot of key topics there, and I think that a lot of what's happening in hospitality right now is the culture is changing. You mentioned a lot when about coming up and working in the dish room. I had the same experience, and you know when you were coming up originally, and I've had a lot of people talk about this on the show. It is 15 hours a day, 6-7 days a week, every holiday, whatever the bar or metric was, you had to pay your dues, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like you can do that anymore. And it not only does it feel like you can do that, it really is almost we never should have done that. Like that was a bad idea to begin with. So
Right.
so kind of what's your take on that? And how do you feel like companies can evolve past that?
Well, I think the issue, and I think Marriott did this many years ago with a 50-hour work week. You didn't need to have FaceTime. But I think what we really need to do is celebrate the 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 excitement of what it means to be working really hard with a team. And I think what one of the best things is when you work really hard putting on an event for like 15,000 people, even 1,000 people. It's the end of the evening, right? You've broken down all the tables, and then as a team, you all just sit around and you just talk to each other, and you talk about the weird guests you came, and you talk about the mistakes you had, or you talk about the famous people you saw, and you have a cocktail, and you sit around and you laugh about stuff, and you build that camaraderie. And so it's almost like we do this not for the company, but we do it for our teammates. And I think building that sense of community within the team is really critical. And then giving the workers time to be flexible, and not trying to make sure they're out as quickly as possible because we want to save money, but spend a little money to show them that we really appreciate them. I think is really critical. And I was thinking the other advice I would give industry folks is not to. Everybody wants to work at home, right? And if you're a leader, you go, I could work at home. But then your employees see you working at home and they go, gee, I want that kind of job. And at the end of the day, we have to be around, right? So I think the message I would say to leadership is be around, let employees know that you're there just as much as they are. You're not working at home, because then all of a sudden everybody wants to be at home, and then they go find industries that allow them to do that. And we don't want that to happen, because it's, at the end of the day, no matter what industry you work in, to be successful, you work all the time. I tell students, if you're always looking at the clock, you'll always be a hand, right? And so you might as well be working all the time at a job you love and having a passion. And I think that's our industry.
You could not be farther from the truth. I think it's for everybody who counts the number of hours they're at and wonders, is it encroaching on my personal life? Is it a work-life balance? I think what a lot of people have realized through the pandemic is there's almost a work-life fluidity to it, right? You have the things that are important to you. You carve out time for those things, and everything else just kind of flows in and out of each other. There's almost no hard boundaries anymore with the way your cell phone works and the computers work and
Yeah.
technology integrates. So that's a really interesting thought. And I think that a lot of people are trying to figure out how to explain that to new people coming in, that I'm not encroaching on your life. I just hope that you love this and you're excited about it. Right.
Yeah. It's like a disease, it's a passion, and you have this passion for service. And, we always say, and it's a well-used phrase, if you have a job you love, you'll never be bored. You'll never worry about the pay because the money will come, right? And I think it's all about lifestyles, how you want to choose your life. And I think what we try to do at UNLV is we go out and we're working with students who are in high schools who are studying with the ProStart, and we're recruiting them and getting them get excited about the industry. But then there's also a lot of people in our industry, and this is another strategy we're pursuing, who started working in industry when you didn't have to have a degree. They've worked their way up, and then they reach a plateau because they don't have that degree. And so we're working very hard at the university to be able to say, how do we offer these people that are already in the industry, they have a passion for it, they need more education. How can then we give them the education, get them their degree, by using things like prior learning assessments and things like that. And, we're not there yet because it's a huge battle to get those kinds of things done. But it's something that we're actively pursuing as a strategy for our college. And we're actually working with a couple major companies in town to help them educate their employees, because they want to say, hey, we want to retain our employees. So a benefit we can give them is education and skill training. A good example is we're working with the company that used to be called Club Corp, which owns golf courses around the country. They're now called Invited. And what they've done is they've taken probably 25 of their top leadership across the country, and they bring them to UNLV for a 6-week program. And it's spread out over 6 months. But they're basically saying, we want to invest in you as an employee so you can be promoted and do a better job. We're on our second cohort of that. And now we're finding that employees for Invited are staying longer with the company. They're actually getting promoted. And so it's a way of retaining their employees by giving them opportunities. And I think that fits into, we have to think beyond just the freshmen on campus, which we'll always have, but we have to think about the lifelong learning and how do we provide that. And I think all those are reasons we're number one in the US.
So this has been a fascinating conversation. I mean, you've taken us through, kind of what life looks like at the university and what it goes into, really being that number one program. You've been able to give us an insight as to kind of where students are gravitating towards and what their mindset is coming out of school. You've given us some great advice for businesses as they're trying to attract and retain a lot of this. The last thing I'd ask is, do you have any feedback or any advice for any, future leaders who may not have the benefit of going to UNLV? Do you have any advice for them as they're embarking on their hospitality leadership careers?
I do. And I think, and I tell this to our students all the time, is at the end of the day, hospitality is about taking care of the customer. It's about understanding operations. And it's about staying close to the cash register. And what I mean by that is, you'll always have a job if you're driving revenue, but you really have to understand the business of hospitality. We had one of our grads who, graduated many years ago, started out as a dealer, really understood the industry, worked his way up. He took over an asset, the Cosmopolitan, that was basically sold to Blackstone for $1.2 billion. He came in with his team. Many of the team members are UNLV graduates, and they recently sold it for like $6.2 billion. And the question is, what could one person and a group of people do that the previous leadership couldn't do? And my argument has been that the previous owners were investment bankers. I mean, it was built by Deutsche Bank. Bill Macbeth came in with his team, who they really understood operations, and they took an asset within 5 years and turned it into something great. And when I talked to Bill and I talked to other people there, it's all because they really understood the customer, they understood the operations, and they certainly understood the business side, but they understood the side from entertainment. They understood the side of communication, and they were able to put all that together. So my advice to students is, don't be afraid of operations. Get your hands dirty. Have that MBA mentality. Learn as much as you can about the operation, because as you start moving up, you're going to attract people who know that operations and they want to learn from you, and you're going to have a career that will take you anywhere in the world. So that would be my advice.
That's phenomenal advice. I think a lot of people, try to find ways to skip over, the hard work and just get to the reward. And what they find is when they get to the reward, if they don't understand how the hard work goes, it makes it almost impossible to actually be successful and get to where you want to be. So I think that's a phenomenal advice. So thank you very much for that, Stowe.
Yeah, and I have one more piece of advice is
Sure.
is that this is a small industry, and the people you climb over to get to the top are the same people you're going to be climbing over as you're down on the bottom. So treat people with respect, be honest, be trustworthy, admit your faults, and people hire you because they trust you, not necessarily because you're the smartest person in the room.
That's right. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid to fail. learn from your, learn from your mistakes and make sure you, you bring people along with you. Don't try to crawl over them. Right.
Right. Exactly.
I love it. Love it. Well, so, if people want to find out more about your program, where are they going to find out more about your program?
The best way to find out is to go to our website, which is unlv.edu/hospitality.
Okay. Perfect.
And we have pictures of our building. We have our curriculum. We have all kinds of stuff on there. It's phenomenal.
That's what I was going to ask, is what are they going to find when they get there? I love it. So, all right. Well, so first of all, congratulations. Number one in the US. I am throwing the prediction out there. Number one in the world here for hospitality.
I think so too.
We're pulling for you.
We're pulling for it.
That's right. So congratulations on all of your success. Phenomenal advice at every level today. So I really hope there are a lot of really good takeaways here from people in the entire ecosystem of hospitality who are very interested to know what the next level of leadership is going to look like. And I think you gave us a great picture today. So
thank you very much. It was an honor to be on your program. Keep up the great work. This is what you do is tremendous, because it does get people excited about our industry. It lets people be aware of it. So I applaud you for doing all the great work that you do also.
Well, I look forward to connecting with you again in the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Au revoir.
All right.
Bye. Bye-bye.